So let's talk about a concept many of us think we get, but which actually has a much deeper, more challenging meaning. We're diving into the idea of extravagance, but we're going to look at it through the lens of a powerful Islamic principle called Isrāf. And you might be surprised to find out it has very little to do with what's actually in your wallet. Seriously, take a second. What's the very first image that pops into your head? A fancy car? A closet full of designer clothes? Maybe a huge, lavish dinner? Just hold that thought for a moment. Yeah, for most of us, it's exactly that, right? It's all about money, about waste, about material things. And look, that's definitely part of the picture, but it's only scratching the surface. In the Islamic tradition, the term for this is Israf. And let me tell you, it goes way beyond our bank accounts and shopping habits. It's a principle that touches on pretty much every part of our lives, from what we believe to how we act. So let's peel back the layers and see what's really going on here. Okay, first things first. What does this word, Israf, actually mean? Let's get right to the core of it. So, linguistically, Israf isn't just about spending. The real meaning is about exceeding any proper limit. It's about going past the point of moderation in literally any action. So you can see it's a much bigger, more universal idea than just being wasteful. To really get our heads around this, it helps to kind of place Israf on a spectrum. It's not a simple on or off thing. It exists in relation to other ideas that are pretty similar. Now, this is a really key distinction. Think of Israf as the big, giant umbrella term. It means exceeding any kind of limit. But under that umbrella, there's a more specific idea called Tabdhīr. That's more about squandering, like corruptly spending money or using it for something unlawful. So all Tabdhīr is a form of Israf, but not all Israf is Tabdhīr. That difference is super important. And here's where you can really see it. Imagine a line. On one end, you have taqdhīr, that's stinginess, falling short of the limit. Way over on the other end, that's Israf, exceeding the limit. And right there in the sweet spot, the bullseye is cost, the balanced, moderate middle path. And this isn't just a budget plan. It's a blueprint for pretty much all of our actions. All right, now we get to the really interesting part. If Israf is so much more than overspending, where else does it show up? You might want to brace yourself because we're about to explore some areas you probably weren't expecting. So get this, the first and maybe the most profound form of Israf has absolutely nothing to do with material things. It's found in our belief system. It's the act of disbelief, of denial. It's about crossing the most fundamental boundary there is, the recognition of God. And this verse just connects all the dots, doesn't it? It directly links Israf, transgression, with being cut off from divine guidance. So to go beyond the limits in one's belief is to become what's called a musrif, a transgressor, who's then kind of left to their own devices. Okay, so let's bring this into the realm of our own character. Another hidden face of Israf is arrogance and pride. It's when we exceed the proper limits of our own self, when we start seeing ourselves as bigger or more important than we really are. And the Quran gives us the ultimate poster child for this, Pharaoh. When God tells Moses to go to Pharaoh, the reason given is so simple and direct. Indeed, he has transgressed. Pharaoh's Israf was his out-of-control arrogance, his tyranny, and his claim to be a god himself, the ultimate transgression of human limits. Now this one might be the most shocking application of all. The concept of Israf is even applied to the sanctity of human life itself. It's not just about killing, but about exceeding the just limits, even when a response might be legally justified. Just listen to how carefully this is worded. Even in the context of legal retribution for a crime, the Quran gives this stark warning. Do not transgress the limits in killing. This just shows that there are these sacred boundaries that have to be respected, and crossing them is a form of Israf, a huge transgression against life itself. So we've explored all these ways of going over the limit. But what's the alternative? What's the goal? Well, the Quran doesn't just point out the problem. It lays out a clear and honestly beautiful solution, the middle way. This verse just perfectly captures the whole idea. It's saying that the people who get it right, when they spend, they're not extravagant, but they're not stingy either. The ideal, the praised quality, is finding that just balance right there in between the two extremes. So what does this path of moderation actually look like in practice? Well, it's an active choice. It means spending without being wasteful, but also giving without being a miser. It's about finding that just balance in everything and remembering that whatever we have is ultimately a trust. This balance is way more than a financial strategy. It's a praised characteristic of a believer. Okay, but what are the stakes? Why is avoiding Israf in all these different forms so incredibly important? Let's take a quick look at the consequences of crossing that line. And the sources are very clear about this. In this life, the consequence of Israf is being cut off from guidance, like we saw in that earlier verse. It's a state of being lost. And in the hereafter, the consequence is severe. The Quran describes those who keep transgressing as the companions of the fire. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. So this brings us right back to where we started. We began by thinking about extravagance as something material, something to do with money. But now we see it in our beliefs, our pride, our actions, even our anger. So the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. In what hidden corners of our own lives, our time, our words, our relationships, might we be exceeding a limit without even realizing it? And how can we start to find our way back to that just, balanced middle path?